Hey guys, welcome back. Good to see you again. This is SAAB Talk Live, the show for guys who love Saabs by a couple of guys who love their Saabs. I'm Lee Kelso.
At 8 p.m. Eastern, talking about stories and information to keep your Saabs on the road.
Yeah, and this week, I've got to, let me grab something.
Oh, what you got there? Oh, goodness.
Recognize this thing? Anybody know what this thing is? This is the intercooler out of a classic Saab 900. Look at that tiny little thing. It's about the size of a sheet of paper.
Goodness gracious.
Doesn't compare at all to the one in your car, does it, Mark?
Well, I have to say that the one I have is a little bit of an aftermarket persuasion. Definitely helps the airflow and cools everything down going into the engine.
Yeah, so Mark has put into his car one of the intercooler kits from the company we're going to introduce you to tonight, DO88, not really sure about that, but we'll find out. And just to be upfront about everything, they didn't give you this for appearing on the show, right? You didn't cut some kind of a deal here?
Oh, no. I heard about this long before we had any notion of having them on the show, but I had wanted to improve the performance of my Saab. And of course, making the better airflow going in the engine, it's always a good thing.
Yeah. So how do you feel the difference? What is it doing for you?
It's bringing down the air intake temperatures, keeping that cold air flowing into the engine. It helps the turbo compress the air a little bit better by making it flow easier, and it keeps the temperatures down, which makes the air more dense, and it helps that engine perform a little bit better.
There's a lot of science that goes into all of that. And so I wanted to find out more. So this is one of the rare companies that are making parts for Saabs today, and they're doing lots of different parts for lots of different makes and models. So connected with Isak Edman, who is the marketing director for the company, to find out more about them and how they go about creating all the engineering and everything that goes into it. So here's a little bit of our conversation with Isak Edman from the company that we just mentioned there. Name of your company and what does it really mean?
Well, the correct pronunciation is DO88, and there's no specific meaning to it. It's just somebody came up with a name many years ago now, and it kind of stuck. So the number 8 is also the lucky numbers of my two bosses that started this company. So that, of course, plays a role as well.
Okay, so here is your company headquarters in Nykvarn, which is right outside of Stockholm. And I think people probably know your company best for the fantastic silicon hoses that you produce. This is looks like a Saab 900 with a T5 conversion. Is this your car?
It is, yeah.
Okay, so
it looks familiar.
Yeah, okay, so
yeah.
This is Isak's Saab 900, and there is the engine compartment. I'd love to drive that thing. It looks great. So your hoses they're really super high quality. I've got these in my car. And what is there about your design philosophy that you wanted to make these hoses and they became your bestseller?
Yeah, that's right. We started with universal bits a long time ago now. It's almost 15 years. And then we moved into more model-specific kits. So the first kit is actually for a Saab 9.3. That's the kit number 1. And then we have kept on that path ever since. So the idea is for the hoses is to install something that has higher burst pressure and also with the top grade silicone, which will withstand, it won't age over time. So the idea is you change them once and then you don't have to look at them again. It also brings peace of mind knowing that you have hoses that will keep up.
Exactly. You just don't have to think about that or worry about that. You also make radiators, and I think a lot of people know you also for your air handling capabilities. And of course, everything you do seems to be revolving around keeping your engine cool and running better. And there's a lot of science that goes into these. So you actually engineer these in your company, right?
Yeah, that's right. We start with an empty paper and then it ends up with what we saw just recently on the picture. Yeah.
Yeah, and let me show you kind of I think this is real interesting, the process that you go through. So for example, first up is a scanning process, and what's happening here?
Here we are using our 3D scanner that we bought in a few years ago. It was quite an investment back then, but it has really opened up some doors for us in terms of flexibility. What we're doing here is to scan the compartment where the intercooler would sit. So having that as a 3D model, we can then blend that together with what you see in this picture here, our self-designed intercooler. And if we have this as a start, as a base, the 3D scan of the car, it's very easy to adapt and see what obstacles and what things to get around in the given area.
And here's an example, I think, of the science that goes into what you do. Tell me what we're looking at here.
This is a visualization of the airflow through an intercooler tank. In this case, it's the one that we have for the SAAB 95. So what these lines try to visualize is how well is the airflow in this given area. So the blue ones say that there's very little restriction, and it goes onwards to green, and then yellow is more restriction. And that kind of makes sense also because this is the narrowest part that also is the air is traveling upwards through the tank to the upper part of the core. So it's natural that that part will be the one with the what should I say?
The area of restriction, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So again, here we are in the mock-up mode. This happens to be an intercooler for a Volvo XC60, and I was kind of surprised to see a piece of wood in there. It's only there for dimensions, right?
Correct, it is. It looks kind of low tech, but the only purpose of that piece in the middle is to resemble the core. So we could have made that from anything really, and in this case, as we used to share our building with carpenters. So so that's the kind of the first example was made from wood for that reason, and then we have kept on doing like that because it's very flexible and you can determine the exact dimensions easily.
So here's the finished product installed in a Volvo XC60, and then you guys actually go out and do road testing, which is depicted here. Tell us what this data is measuring and telling us.
This graph here is showing the inlet air temperature after 3 hard pulls. It's the average of 3 hard pulls, 50 to 250 kilometers per hour. So we can see here that the ambient temp was 19 degrees Celsius this day, and we ended up with like 30 degrees in the intake, whereas the original part had 48, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like about right.
So this shows the improvement of our intercooler.
Right, so that you are performing better, you're getting a bigger temperature reduction at the endpoint than the factory intercooler, so more efficient.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, we know you're building parts for SAABs, but you also build parts for lots of other cars. Here are some in development in your shop.
Yeah, here we can see one Porsche 992. It's the latest model, and also a BMW M3. And these cars, just as well as the SAABs and the Volvos that we started with, we develop and manufacture intercoolers, radiators, pipe kits, silicon hoses, and so on. So these 2 cars here, that's a pretty recent project. The M3 it left our building just 1 week ago, and the Porsche this week. So these are new developments with us.
And then this car looks familiar. This is your SAAB 95, right? And it was going into the shop for what reason? What were you doing?
Yeah, this picture is taken just 2 days ago. We are starting development for intercoolers for, we hope, all engines for this platform. So the diesels, the 2-liter petrol, and also the V6. To that, we will also add silicon hoses, of course, for the radiator system. and inlet kits from the air filter to the turbo, and also intercooler pipe work from the turbo outlet via the intercooler up to the inlet manifold.
I'm going to go back. Here's a shot of a classic 900 with your intercooler. Now, the stock intercooler is nowhere near that big. That stock intercooler is a tiny little thing. So what's the effect I get driving a car with one of your intercoolers versus a stock intercooler?
First of all, what you want is cooling. So the lower the intake temperature, the higher the mass of the air that's reaching. So you want cold air, and you want as much of it as possible. And by reducing the inlet air temperature and also improving the airflow, you will have so many more oxygen molecules entering the inlet. And that is pretty much what makes your car go forward. So the more the merrier. So any restriction in airflow that you can sort of move away from, that's a benefit. So how does this transpond to you while you're driving? Well, you get a better throttle response, and that is very much noticeable on this car in specific, because the airflow is so much better than what it used to be. You can also notice that after repeated pulls, whereas the original unit would be heat soaked, you can just keep on going with this one because it's so much more efficient in terms of cooling.
Yeah, I'd be eager to try that and see what kind of a difference that produces. Maybe I'll have to come to Sweden and drive your 900, huh? It's a beautiful car, and you also used it as the development for a new oil cooler, which I think you've got pictured here.
Yeah, we did. That was we've had it for like a year now, perhaps a bit more, and this is a direct replacement for the original unit. This is not bigger than the OEM one, but it's new. It's more efficient for that reason, because it's not clogged up. Doesn't have any broken fins, and also, as I believe most 900 owners know, if you try to loosen these by the cooler, they are quite prone to failure, because it's corroded and it has probably never been loosened before. So, and once that connection goes, you're in trouble, because the connections of the original oil cooler is so specific. It's very hard to combine those connections. So for that reason, we saw that we should do both the oil lines and the oil cooler as a set, because you cannot really separate these once they've been there for 30 years.
I want to talk just a moment here about SAABs in Sweden. Is there still a big supply of, people might imagine that they were all over the place in Sweden, and there should be a lot of parts still available there. Is that the case?
I would say service parts are very much available, even for these older 900s. After all, they're quite old now, but you can find parts for them. What's hard is, body parts, tail lights, and so on. It's you don't see them. Headlights and indicators in the front, those are produced, so that's all fine. But in the rear, that's hard. So it happens every now and then that you can source some new old stock, perhaps, but it's not a common sight.
Yeah, so there you go. That's Isak Edman, the marketing director of DO88. A couple of things I caught in that when we were chatting there. He said they test that 9.5 up to 155 miles an hour.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
He said 250 kilometers. I did math on that. It's 155 miles an hour. So good for them.
Oh, wow.
And so it caused me to take a look at the oil cooler on my 900, and man, that thing was just clogged and in the front, and just I never think to clean it, right? So Yeah, and I'm not even going to try to replace it because, as he said, those connections will just pop right off. So, yeah, and I appreciate some time there with Isak. Again, I think we wanted to give them a little shout out simply because it's great to have a manufacturer building go fast parts for our cars.
Absolutely. The thing that gets me is that I was fascinated with their design process. I never would have thought they would have combined 3D printing and using, essentially carpentry to mold these pieces and kind of use them to kind of shape and structure them.
Yeah.
That's cool. Never knew that was part of the design process. And it seems that whole 3D scanning approach to actually scanning the empty space where the intercooler is supposed to go so they can design it that way, man, that's cool. And I never knew they did that.
And how was that? So you've put one of these into your car. How did it go right in? Was it a pain in the butt, or did it
It
fit
was
just like it should?
it was actually for the 9.5. It's not too bad. You have to take out some radiator supports, and the way I did it, I was able to drop it down through the bottom. So essentially, you get the car up on a couple of ramps. You go ahead and take off some of the piece underneath. You take off some brackets, loosen up some hoses, and basically you separate the radiator and the intercooler, and then the intercooler just drops right down. So not too bad. You have to take off, I think, the grills as well a little bit on the front of there, but just got a couple bolts there you need to get access to. But really, overall, not too bad, especially if you happen to have someone helping out too. So it's nice.
And we've got people who weren't here at the beginning when you and I were talking about this. So it did make a difference that you can feel in your 9.5, that new
Yes,
intercooler.
absolutely, definitely made a big difference. I would say you notice it more so in the colder months that there's cooler air, but I think what you notice is that you don't get reduced power in the summertime when it's really hot, because the intercooler works a lot harder to cool the air. It's not getting as hot as it normally would, so it does maintain some of the air at least at a cooler temperature. So that I did notice that during the summer months as well.
Wow, these pieces are not cheap. They're high quality, well made, and
Mhm.
you're going to pay for it. But gosh, it's great to have some new performance parts available for our cars. So
Absolutely.
good on them. Good on them. Glad to have that happening. Hey, so it's time to start thinking about something that's coming up this summer. A place that you call your summer vacation. Let's tell the folks about that.
Right. So everyone is talking about it. The Carlisle SAAB meet, or SAABs at Carlisle, is coming up in May. It's going to be May 14th and 15th. As far as I know, registration is still out there. Fun times, obviously.
Look at this ham bone.
But it's coming up next month. It's going to be a May 14th and 15th. Fun times for all. Mainly, it's a really low key, really fun, really not very formal. Just everyone out there with their SAABs having fun. Bring some chairs, bring a tent. Bring drinks, bring food, and bring fun times. That's really the name of the game with Carlisle. And so much fun seeing everyone there. It's nice seeing everyone in person, especially people you see, you only see online, you only see them, remotely, and then you actually see them in person. You see the cars in person, you share stories, you shoot the breeze. It's awesome. You get to meet new people. Fun times all the way around. And you have the option to camp out in the campgrounds. You can bring a tent, you can bring a camper, you can bring all the experience. I prefer to get a hotel room, but that's just me. A lot of people, other people would prefer to do camping stuff. So it's a lot of options there for enjoying the weekend on how you want to. It's really nice.
Yeah, a couple of years ago was my first experience at Carlisle, and I made the mistake of waiting until the last minute to get a hotel room. And man, don't do that, because I wound up in this nasty little hotel with nothing but a smoker's room, and it was, yeah, it kind of did not contribute to the enjoyment of the weekend. But being around all those guys, like you said, it was fun to see people in person that you meet in the Facebook groups, and to put a face with a name and talk with these guys and share. Like, I think that's Jonathan Williams' car right there, and you see him around the groups a lot. Yeah, it was really great to go and do that. So yeah, and what's cool is this event is in this big park, and there's lots of other stuff going on, lots of other makes and models there, but the SAAB Club just dominates that event.
Yep. I know last year the turnout was a little bit diminished due to the current circumstances, but
yeah, sure.
I'm looking forward to this year, and hopefully we're going to have a good turnout. This year I'm just hoping it's going to be close to normal. I know it's only 2 days. It used to be 3 days, but I think they cut back on the days a little bit. And that's just from the people who run the event, and that's fine. They're just limiting exposure, so to speak. But I'm looking forward to good times either way.
Well, I'm hoping I can make it. Haven't committed on that yet, but hope to be there. That'd be great, and hopefully see some of you guys who are watching as well.
Absolutely.
We've got time to wrap it up, but just wanted to say thanks again to everybody who's checking us out. Please share this around out there on the interwebs if you would. Let's build our SAAB community even more. We all got to stick together, right, guys? And coming up in a couple of weeks, we're going to do a segment here on paint care. I did not know that I'm using microfiber towels all wrong and washing them all wrong.
Oh, wow.
And other things that we're going to learn about both single stage paint for the older cars and then the 2-stage paint, so clear over color colors. So that'll be coming up in a couple of weeks. We got a lot more stuff planned in the future. If there's something you'd like us to touch on, please shoot us a line, messages. We'll follow up and see if we can work that out. And if you're interested in appearing with a project that you have underway on your SAAB, I'd love to hear about that as well. We're all about just sharing information about the SAAB community. That's what we're all about, Mark.
Absolutely. Look, we're here every Thursday, 8 o'clock, and we're definitely looking for new content and new people to bring on their cars. We want to hear all about your stories. We want to hear the stories. We want to hear about the people. That's what we're all about. We want to hear the journey, the adventures, and we want to share them with everyone else. I'm sure everyone wants to hear about your story and your car.
So we hope we'll see you again next Thursday night live at 8 o'clock or on the replay whenever it's convenient for you. It's SAAB Talk Live, and we're looking forward to seeing you next time around. Take care, Mark.
Take care, Lee. Goodbye, everyone.